Now on the show, it's what it's like to go viral and the power of radio.
First up, we've had a lovely request come in from Darren Izzard. He says we're celebrating our eldest Benjamin's 9th birthday today. We've got tickets to see Imagine Dragons next summer, which will be his first proper gig. And this is so lovely. Darren says, for context, when I bagged Oasis tickets last week, he said, so Daddy, is Oasis to you what Imagine Dragons is to me? And I guess he's kind of right. He says, can I get a happy birthday to Benjamin, please, and an Imagine Dragons track? Of course you can. Happy birthday to you, Benjamin. Imagine Dragons coming right up.
That, as you see, was Ben, whose probably week, year, was made by a shout-out on Absolute Radio by his dad, Darren, who I'm delighted to say is joining us now. Darren, could you just tell us exactly kind of how this all came about?
Well, pretty much as the clip plays out, Sarah puts it perfectly, really. Birthday gift, the announcement of the Imagine Dragons tour came about, and it just led on from something that Benjamin had said the week before. And initially we were just going to hand him a card with the tickets in, and I suggested, well, let's reach out to Absolute Radio because Sarah normally puts something out on a Thursday or Friday, asking like, what are you doing for this weekend, and it just kind of went from there really on Instagram. And I messaged Sarah and gave her the spiel. Obviously, didn't quite have the space to put the amount of characters in, so I did message saying, a lot of DM'd, and pretty much word for word, and it kind of went from there really. And the actual reaction from it was pretty mad, to be honest. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say it got out of hand, but it took Benj by surprise, as it did me and Mum as well. Yeah.
It was so wonderful. And Sarah, who you're talking about, is the DJ, right? Sarah Champion with Absolute.
Yeah, Sarah Champion, yeah.
And I know that she commented on the video afterwards, after seeing it, saying, so rare that we get to see the reaction, let alone such a lovely one, really special, made my weekend that. So, and you made so many other people's weekends as well with it, because it's got so many views. Did you expect that it was going to, if you posted it, that it was going to blow up?
No, not at all. I mean, when Sarah very kindly asked, would we mind that being shared? Benj was okay with it. He was okay to start with. He was like, yeah, that's fine. But then a couple of days later, I think a little bit of self-doubt crept in, because it obviously got quite a bit of traction very quickly. And I did say to him, I said, look, the genie's out of the bottle now. It's already it's out there. So there's not much more we can do with it. And the beauty of it was that, I mean, as I'm sure you guys will know, doing what you guys do, social media, the comments generally tend to err on the side of being a little bit more on the negative, and a bit on that toxicity can creep in. But it was just so heartwarming. The lovely responses. It was kind. It was generous. It was mostly heartfelt. There was one or two jokey comments about the dog and things like that. But generally speaking, me and Catherine, Benjamin's mum, we were really sort of taken aback by it, because you don't necessarily expect that with social media now, and I think that was hard for him to compute initially, and then it kind of crept, and then he was saying, well, what if it gets to 1 million views? and but again, it's unquantifiable numbers really in the grand scheme of things. But he's like a lot of kids are now. He's familiar because it's Mr. Beast and all the YouTubers and things. So he's familiar with that sort of scale. And his little brother Jacob, again, another character in all this that's been forgotten a little bit. He was kind of asking, so will you get to meet Mr. Beast and Elon Musk? And I'm sort of like, well, I'm not sure it's quite that. It's not at that level, but it's it's been something of a talking point in the household. I mean, the lovely thing about it has been as well that, I mean, with Absolute Radio is pretty much the station in the car, at home. So when Matt Dyson shared Sarah's tweet as well,
okay,
Benj was quite thrown by that, because Matt's a voice that we hear in the car on the school run every morning. So that kind of resonated with him even more. And then obviously Ben Burrell as well. So pretty much all the daytime DJs are people that the boys are familiar with, so in one way, shape or form. So yeah, it's mad.
So you got
I was really sorry, go on. Sorry.
Content creator on your hands now for the future, which is great, and potentially also someone who's going to go, a kid who's going to go and make waves in commercial radio as well. I mean, it's amazing to me that commercial radio is flying the way it is at the moment, and that the younger generation are kind of like as into it as clearly your kids are.
Yeah, I mean, I could honestly say nowadays, bar one or two of the streaming services, I think radio is probably the most predominant medium that's in our household at the minute. The boys, music wise, I did expect one or two comments about Imagine Dragons because, again, they're quite poppy rock type stuff. Jamie East, another broadcaster, shared it, and he made a bit of a dig about I'd be crying too if I got Imagine Dragons tickets. But again, from my point of view, I've always really liked Jamie's work, so that was quite nice from a personal point of view. And I did message him and say, "Oh, that's my boy, that is." Um, but yeah, I mean, he's very sort of, as a lot of kids are now. He's into his YouTube, and he watches a lot of sort of, when he was a little, Ryan's World when he was a little bit smaller, and he's kind of started to yeah. I mean, but that's how a lot of stuff's consumed now, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
How do I don't know how old, if you don't mind me asking, how Benj is at the moment.
He's 9 now. Yeah, he's 9.
So in
he
terms
just
of,
turned 9.
so it's like, with friends at school is one thing, but then obviously seeing just, as you said, like the genie out of the bottle, but hearing lots of different people he's never known of commenting, it must be quite overwhelming, I guess, for him as well.
I think that's where he got a little bit, because he said to us, maybe we should have kept that for just us. They were the words that he kind of, but the horse had bolted at that point. It was kind of sort of, it was out there. So, but the most pleased thing I was, the following weekend we kind of had a belated sort of birthday celebration with some friends. He had a sleepover with a couple of friends, and he was really happy to show them and despite it showing a bit of vulnerability on his part, he was happy for them to see that. And I thought he'd be a little bit cool about it and not want to sort of show his friends, but he was more than happy with it. And yeah, I mean, I saw lots of people in the comments as well, sort of tagging the band in, and I was like, oh. So who knows if they ever saw it? Who knows?
You had to explain about the dog as well. You said at the beginning that you got a couple of comments. So
a lot of
in this.
So, well, the dog Bob, he's just asleep in the hallway at the minute, just to my right. So a lot of people watched it without audio. Now, if you watch that without audio, it is literally just an ecstatic-looking child. Probably looks a little bit angsty. He starts crying. He's looking at a dog and reacts accordingly. And I think one or two suggested that the dog had broke wind and things like that. So it was. But once it got to a point with so many comments, I mean, that first 2 or 3 days, we kind of we're just looking to see, because two things that jumped out at me initially were I expected him to get a little bit of stick for the football shirt he's wearing, and also for it being Imagine Dragons, because again, it's just a sort of polarizing thing, football and music. It's quite a, and it didn't happen. It was just, everyone was just really, really positive towards it, which we didn't expect. I mean, it's one of those things where you keep it. It's for yourselves and for Sarah, and obviously Sarah shared it. And I mean, I don't think, as much as I appreciate the works of the DJs at Absolute, I don't think that message could have been delivered any more concisely with, the cadence, the delivery, the empathy, and all that sort of stuff. I think Sarah did an amazing job of just putting that message across. And Benj again, completely, his reaction, as you saw.
Well, we're so grateful to you for talking to us, explaining the kind of the whole backstory and the kind of like the impact that it had on your son, on you, the whole family, the dog. We can hear him in the background.
Yeah, that's because the post lady has just walked by, and he's got a bit of a love-hate relationship with the postal service.
No, don't we all? Darren, it's been so lovely to chat to you, and we hope that Benj has had a brilliant 9th birthday, and keep up the good work with Absolute Radio and all of the shout outs that you're doing there for not just for him, but you've got another child as well. Is that right? Yeah,
we've got Jacob. He's 6. So yeah, I mean, like I say, Jacob's he's going to the gig as well. So me, Mum, Benjamin, and Jacob, we're all going down to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium next summer. So we're all going.
You're going to have to share the love out a bit here with the shout out.
100%. I mean, but the reality is the major credit really needs to go to Sarah Champion, because it was just special. And also, bizarrely, Emil Franchi referenced it weekend before last again as well. So we just happened to be driving at the time, and then he mentioned it, and my wife reached over to the radio to turn it up, and I was like, what's happened? And then Emil Franchi re-referenced it, and he played a Imagine Dragons song as well. So it keeps going.
Yeah, so you're never going to have to go off in your house. It'll be on 24 hours a day.
Yeah, they do. The boys do like their music, so that's something I'm really keen on. I'm really keen that I'm glad that they kind of embrace that medium a bit more than others.
I completely agree. And as someone who, throughout my daughter's childhood so far, she has got the odd shout out. Unfortunately, she started singing the jingles of Magic another barrel
Yeah.
station. So I can empathise. I can't beat that. That is something to get a shout out and a song played and getting that reaction. Something I won't be able to do. Won't be able to match that. But
No,
I think
it was, yeah, it couldn't have gone better. Couldn't have gone better, to be fair.
I think it's just brilliant, and it's because it's so memorable. You're saying about how the other DJs keep on recalling it and people commenting, because it's just it's so powerful. It's something that I'm sure, you know, when I was a kid, that's the thing I would love, and it's still now. And you can't beat that on Spotify or Apple Music.
Yeah,
You know,
completely. I mean, when I was about 15, there was an old commercial station locally, Leicester Sound, which changed to Capital in later years. And I entered the competition and I won a Supergrass CD or something like that. And just little things that kind of stick with you. And just that kind of thing, really. Just sort of, those kind of things live forever. And it's just a massive memory that's we'll talk about for years.
I have to up my radio game with my son for sure. Darren, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
No, that's great. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Tim.